traffic is way up in the shop. Either they're reinvigorated and reinterested, or they're interested for the first time. I bet you I had 80 people in the shop in those 3 hours. That's ridiculous. I said, wow, if indeed they're real, that's a heck of a deal. What do you mean if they're real? I said, well, there's a lot of fakes out there. I've unintentionally bought fakes over the years. I'm not ashamed to say that. Fakes can slip through the cracks.
There's no doubt when I say that we've had a massive run up on silver prices in the month of May. I mean, we're talking over a 20% gain in just a few weeks. That is basically unheard of and really exciting. And it's also creating a lot of buzz around silver. I mean, we're even seeing silver be talked about in mainstream news media, and all that extra buzz is creating a lot of great situations, especially in local coin shops that are incredibly busy, but it's also creating a lot of problems. Now today we're going to be joined by Josh from Minot Coin and Bullion. This is a coin shop owner who is going to tell us about not only the great things with this new silver price run up, but also some of the negatives that it's affecting as well. We're going to ask him about business in his store, what his customers are saying. We're going to ask him about the falling premiums on silver, and we'll even ask him about fake silver and if it's coming in his shop. So let's not wait any longer and get Josh in here and find out about all those things and more. But before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe and help us continue to grow if you like videos like this. Another year, another monster box of silver. For 2024, SD Bullion is giving away a full monster box of their 1 ounce silver Tree of Life coins. You can enter this giveaway all year, but I suggest that you do it now by going to sdbullion.com/sweepstakes and make sure you enter today. Thank you to SD Bullion for sponsoring my channel. Josh, it's been crazy these last couple of weeks. I mean, the month of May period, in my video the other day, I mentioned silver has gained $5 an ounce in just a couple of weeks, this month alone. How has that been resonating with your customers? Are sales up? Or more people selling because the spot price is up and they want to cash out? What's going on in your shop? I want to know.
Well, the shop's been very busy. I can tell you we've done a lot of transactions, not necessarily large transactions on either direction, buying or selling, but it's created a lot of buzz, to say the least. I've had many customers coming in that have purchased from me that are selling some metal and taking profit. I'm not surprised. I mean, that always happens in a market like this. Also, those that usually are frequent buyers have slowed down because of the uptick in spot price, because they're concerned about cost averaging. They understand how markets work and feel there's probably going to be a pullback where they can stack more for less rather than, be feed into the hype, I guess, we have what's going on right now with the uptick in spot. One thing a lot of people are realizing, and I'm sure you could speak on this too, because you understand the markets, when there's quick jumps in price, that has a negative impact on buyback prices. I'm seeing it all across the board as far as what wholesalers are willing to pay for metal. I know dealers that are selling silver, or wholesalers that are selling silver close to spot, sometimes even under spot to other dealers. And when that happens, that tells you what's the real value. Well, the real value is whatever you can get for your metal. And if you're going to sell it back to a dealer, because so many dealers are being inundated with metal right now, buyback prices have went backwards. They're less. You're going to get more for your metal because spot's up, but in relation to spot, the buybacks are less. And that's the difficult part about the market right now.
Yeah, I've noticed that because I look at some of these Reddit forums, and we have a Discord channel where people, will list some silver for sale and things like that. And I've noticed a lot of people offering their silver for less than spot. I just saw one listing recently. He had 10 ounce bars for $310 shipped, PayPal goods and services. So he's going to take the PayPal hit. He's going to ship it. So by the time he does all that, he's actually getting around $300 for his 10 ounce bar. But I imagine even that is probably more than he paid for it, just because it's moved up so quickly. I mean, right. Josh, you know this. I think most of the people watching do. But that $5 increase in May is a 20% jump. That's crazy.
Yeah,
so
almost unheard of.
Yeah, and of course, you talked about the hype, and I've had some people commenting saying, "Oh, you think $5 is a lot? It's nothing. Wait till it's $5 a day." I actually saw that comment today. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't think that's happening, my friend." But okay. So you said a lot of people are selling. What have they said why they're selling? Are they doing it because spot price is up, or is there any specific interactions or situations you want to share?
Sure. Well, many are selling to take profit. not necessarily because they absolutely need the cash, just because they want to use the cash for other things. But on the other hand, like we've seen for the last really 18 months, probably, there's a lot of people that are selling because they need the cash for bills or presumably or food. I mean, for to live basically. So despite how good the economy is, if you listen to the mainstream news, there are still people that are hurting. And bless them that they were able to maybe capitalize on a situation where metal prices were up. And hopefully they were able to maybe take some profits. I have seen lately too, and once again, this is a phenomenon that always happens when there's a jump in price, it gets into the news cycle. I've had a lot of people selling estates that they've inherited and that they've had. I had one person said, tell me, this has been in my basement for 7 years. And I forget exactly what channel they were watching, but they saw a story about gold and silver, and that reminded them, oh, we have metal in our basement that we inherited from grandpa. So they hauled that in and liquidated it just because they remembered they had it. So, and I explained to them too, I said, well, the timing was great on your part. You know, silver's at what are we, an 11-year high? I mean, that's maybe even changed. Maybe it's even a longer period now. Um, and they were able to capitalize and at least get more versus if they sold it in April, for $5 less per ounce. So I've really seen it several ways, but there are no doubt a lot of people selling, and many days in the shop, I'm buying more across the counter from the public than I'm selling out the door. So what that's done, and I already touched on this, I'm not having to order from a wholesaler as frequently to replace inventory because it's coming in the shop. So as those wholesalers, as their business slows down, what do they got to do to move product? They got to lower the price. So, and if they're lowering the price of what they're going to sell it for, they're going to lower the price of what they're going to buy it back for. So in turn, all of us dealers that do that have to do the same thing. Otherwise, we'll be underwater. I mean, I can't pay, spot for 90% anymore. And I was doing that for the longest time, even though the premiums are super low. I actually committed to buy $1,500 face from a customer that sells to me frequently. I don't have the product yet because he lives 2 hours away. He's coming later this week. I believe the price we settled on was 22.2 times face, which at the time I did the calculation, it was $1.07 back of spot. I explained to him the situation. He wanted to sell. He agreed on the price. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm at around $1 under spot for 90%. And I know that sounds like I'm ripping people off, but that's what everybody's paying at best. If I would even dare to say that, maybe there's some that are paying a little better, but that's just how the market is right now. And that goes all the way down the line with rounds, sovereigns, bars, silver eagles. I haven't really encountered a situation where I've had to buy back a lot of gold lately. It's been predominantly silver. So gold buyback prices, although they have changed also, I haven't had to kind of use those new prices that we're having to get used to right now. Not only new spot, but new buyback prices. Because us as dealers, we can't put ourselves in a position where we have to hedge, basically. We can't put ourselves in a position where we're going to overpay for inventory, and you might see a $2 to $3, backwards trend in metal. Wow, now we're stuck with inventory that we're underwater in. So I know that's difficult for the consumers to understand, but if you're in a situation where you have to sell right now, just be aware that buyback prices are not what they were 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago even. The market really has changed.
Absolutely. And, just to attest to that for people watching, I did the video last week where I was at the Norman, Oklahoma coin show. I actually bought $150 face value of 90% from a dealer at under spot. So, if you have to sell your metal at under spot, you can't expect a coin shop that basically has to sell it at spot to pay you spot when you walk in the door. They can't keep the doors open that way. So I agree with you 100%. Let me ask you a question about this market though. Like with, silver's been hitting the news cycles. I've actually seen articles about the silver price on mainstream news. And that's creating a lot of excitement as well. But it's also bringing out, and I covered this in yesterday's video, Josh. It'll be 2 days ago for you guys watching, because we're recording this on Tuesday. There's a lot of fakes coming out of the woodwork. And I don't mean, like, it's always been a problem. This isn't something that's new. Fakes have always been an issue. But they're really starting to pop their head up with all of this media coverage and excitement around the silver price. You know, I showed in that video, I actually went to eBay and all I searched for was the word Silver Eagle, and only 6 listings down was a definite fake one. And within the first like 15, there were 3. So how is that, you know, have you been seeing fakes come into your shop? Have people been asking you about it? Have you had someone tried to sell you, so on and so forth? Any info on that?
Yeah, I can speak to all of those scenarios. You know, not on a daily basis, but definitely on a weekly basis, sometimes more frequently, fakes come into the shop. There have been a lot of fake Silver Eagles that I've encountered over the last several months, and the story is always very similar. It's somebody who's not real knowledgeable, maybe just getting into stacking, doing some, online research of their own, I guess. And of course, they're going to be pulled and attracted to the best deals, not knowing that some deals are too good to be true. That's kind of the pitfall of it. But uh, ultimately, they'll end up purchasing fake Silver Eagles, having no idea that they're fake because it might be their first time they're ever buying. I had a gentleman in here, it was probably, now this was a couple of months ago, but I've had this happen many times. He came in, I mean, I'm a coin shop, obviously. Yeah, I just wanted to check you out. I just started stacking and I buy Silver Eagles and, just talking to him, having a conversation. And I show him my Silver Eagles and where I'm at for price. He said, oh, yeah, well, I was able to buy some online for X. And at the time, that was like $5 or $7 less than I was charging. I said, wow, if indeed they're real, that's a heck of a deal. What do you mean if they're real? I said, well, there's a lot of fakes out there. There are? Well, long story short, he came back the next day with all of the Silver Eagles he bought. Actually, he didn't bring them all, but he bought 100. He brought 20 to me. Every single one was fake, and they were bad fakes. I mean, for me to notice that, obviously I look at him every day. He had no idea, but I showed him side by side with a real one that I had, pulled out the Sigma Metalytics tester, showed him the tests. He fought because he actually made the purchase through PayPal, I believe. And he was able to file a claim, and I did find out he was able to get his money back. So that's a story that has a happy ending. But he bought 100 Silver Eagles. He probably spent 22 or over 2 grand for sure at the time. But they were all fake. And had he not come in here and had a conversation with me, he had no inkling or idea that they were faked. So for those of you who are watching that are getting into this for the first time, or you're kind of green and you're new to it, boy, there's a lot of fakes out there, as you touched on. One day last week, I had somebody come in with they had a fake gold eagle, American gold eagle. They had a fake gold Krugerrand. They had a fake gold Canadian maple leaf. Now, I laugh when I say that they were fake because they were so bad. I mean, they weren't even the right size or the right color, and they were all slabbed and kind of bogus slabs. But asked him right away, well, where did you get these? Oh, yeah, I bought them online. I said, okay, well, I hate to tell you, but they're not real. And you could just see the blood drain from their face. I mean, they weren't trying to trick me, but they bought 3, what they thought were ounces of gold that were terrible, terrible, terrible fakes. And they had no knowledge of what they were buying. So had they known, the minute they received them, they would have known they weren't real. But I mean, literally the diameter of the Canadian maple leaf was 30% larger than a real one. I mean, the radial lines were super thick on it. I mean, there was so many things wrong with all the different gold coins they had, but they really had no idea what they had was fake. So I guess I would just encourage everybody watching, buy from reputable sources and educate yourself, because there's always going to be fakes that flood the market. That's not going to stop. You just got to really be careful. Buyer beware, I guess they say.
For sure. So you had mentioned, the one guy that came in, and fortunately he was able to get his money back off of PayPal. Yeah. I can't imagine how many people out there that don't. And, they weren't lucky enough to walk into a shop like yours and find out they were fake in time to get their money back. I guarantee you there are tons of people out there with fake silver in their safes right now, and they have no idea.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
I have a couple of people comment on that video saying, well, you're forgetting about the people that buy these to put them in their safes as decoys. And I do understand that there are a very minority amount of people that do that, but the majority of people that buy them, it's not for that reason. They get scammed or they're buying it to scam others, which is really unfortunate. And Josh, let me ask. So I did this video. I had a viewer of mine that had the 125 fake 1 ounce bars that he almost bought. You saw that video.
I did. Yeah.
So if somebody were to call you in that scenario as a coin shop and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying these. Would you test them for me first? Would you do that?"
Absolutely. And I do that for people. I almost said all the time, but that would be a stretch. But I bet you once a week, I have people, either they'll meet somebody here, the seller, or they'll want to test their own stuff that they have some doubts on. I had somebody in here actually yesterday that asked if I could test some silver that they had that that they bought. Oh gosh, I forget where it was, in a different country. Fortunately, the stuff tested real, but they really had their doubts. So, but yeah, I'm happy to do that for people, and I don't charge anything. Um, I mean, unless you have, a monster box and you want me to test every coin and it's going to take me a while, then we might have to figure out something for my time. But yeah, I do that as a service for the public because I don't want those fakes out there either. And, if somebody has one, I do offer to buy them. I don't pay a lot, but I'd rather have them off the street than, have them fall into the wrong hands where they try to fool somebody else.
Yeah, I
And
think most coin shops do. I mean, the reason
I
I asked
do.
you, yeah, the reason I asked you that question is, like in every video, you always get the few people that are skeptical, and they're like, "Why would a coin shop do that? Because they're trying to buy it themselves. Why would they test it for this guy so he could buy it from him in the shop?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
most of the coin shops I know are stackers themselves, so they don't want that fake stuff out there either. So they're happy to do it. But I would argue this. I would tell you that, as far as like the coin shop that you're going to buy your silver from, if you go to a coin shop that can't test your silver for you, like even the stuff they're going to sell you, it's probably not where you want to buy it. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Because there's so much fake out there. If they can't test it, then who knows that they're not, maybe they don't intend on selling you a fake, but who knows that they're not buying fakes and they don't realize it, especially if they have no way to check it. So, do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Even the people that have been in this business for longer than you and I have been alive, they're going to make mistakes too. Fakes can slip through the cracks. I don't want to say easily, but if you're not real vigilant and consistent on testing and inspecting every single piece that you buy, fakes are going to slip through. So you just really got to be careful. I mean, I've unintentionally bought fakes over the years. I'm not ashamed to say that. I've made mistakes. I've learned from it. Fortunately, I noticed, before I sold them the other direction back across the counter, but sometimes you get overwhelmed in a coin shop. I can remember a specific time I had one person come in with it was over 400. I forget the exact amount, but it was almost 500 1 ounce silver bars. And they were all different. They weren't nicely on sheets of 20 or 50. I mean, they were all loose. They were in boxes and they just kind of got dumped out on the desk. Well, for me, working in the shop predominantly just by myself most days, I don't have help in here. And I have other customers in here. Do I have an hour and a half to test every 1 ounce silver bar on my Sigma tester? No. Should I? Yeah, I probably should, but you don't have the time, quite frankly. So, cherry pick, test out a few, do a visual inspection of what they have laid out, and I bought them all. Kind of stuffed them off, boxed them up, stuffed them off to the side. A couple of days later, I started going through them, and one jumped out immediately to me. It was one of those bars that said, "In clad we trust." You've maybe seen those bars, but
I
it
have.
was plain as day. It was, well, this wasn't even, a fake that was necessarily intended to deceive, because it says right on the back it's clad. But yeah, I ended up buying that in the group. But there again, I noticed before I put the bars out for sale. So, just time becomes an issue with that too in shops. So, I'm not telling you that there's in every coin shop there's fakes. Well, there probably are, but they're probably not out for sale. I mean, I have fakes in a safe place in one of my safes here at the shop, so they don't go out to the floor, and I use them for education. Somebody brings in a fake one, I'll pull out another one. Well, yeah, here's another one just like yours, and here's a real one. So yeah, it's just something we all have to help each other with and be vigilant about.
I agree. And it's unfortunate that we have to, but like I said, with it, getting the news media and people getting hyped about the new silver price, I think it's going to become a bigger problem, not a smaller problem. So you really need to be
I think
vigilant.
you're right. More and more are going to come out of the woodworks at these prices.
It's crazy. You have to have like zero moral compass to do something like that, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
I don't get that, but I guess it exists. So, Josh, we'll call it off there. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we go, though? Like any, specific interactions or situations in the store related to the new spot price you wanted to share?
Uh, you always ask these great pointed questions that I'm ill prepared for. Let me think. Yeah, there probably is. Maybe not specifics, but generals, and I'll maybe just kind of retouch on something we talked about earlier. Traffic is way up in the shop. Not sales in terms of numbers, because the big buyers aren't buying right now. And honestly, big sellers aren't selling right now, but just buzz in the hobby is up. And I think that's a positive for everybody. There's a lot of people, because it's high, the prices have gotten higher, that are interested. Either they're reinvigorated and reinterested, or they're interested for the first time. I've had a lot of new people coming in buying metal. Um, I was actually open this past Saturday too. And Saturday was a very, very busy day. I mean, I was only open for 3 hours. I bet you I had 80 people in the shop in those 3 hours. That's ridiculous. I mean, at any one time there was 5 to 8 people in here, like the whole time I was open, and actually past 1 o'clock. I was open 10 to 1. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are just excited about it. And that's what happens, as the price goes up. Those that are kind of on the fence, should I get into metal? Should I get into metal? Oh, it's in the news now. Yeah, I'm going to go buy. Yeah, well, you're probably buying on the way up at that point, rather than, we had a lot of opportunity the last long time to buy it at much less. But I think overall, it's good for the hobby. The buzz is there. It's going to be great for us YouTube content creators. I think, more people are going to want to get on the platform and get education. They're going to want to learn and watch videos about this stuff. So I think it's a positive, because the more people that understand the market, I think the better it is for everybody. And the more people that have metal, I think it's better for everybody. So I think it's a positive with what's going on right now. Although as I said, it has negatively impacted buyback prices, which really is the true value of your metal. So, for what it's worth.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay you for it. That's how it goes. But I agree with you. I think the excitement is a good thing, and hopefully there's not a whole lot of people that go gung ho and get burnt if we have a big pullback, and that turns them off. That's what happened with the silver squeeze and the premiums, and everyone getting excited. Silver's going to moon. It's going to hit $200 an ounce. This is the next GameStop. This is the next Bitcoin. This is my turn. And unfortunately it didn't happen for him. So I think a lot of those people buying back then, spot prices were way lower than they are now.
Yeah,
Finally they may even have that opportunity to get out of it, because they still aren't interested, and this may be their chance, which is why we're seeing a lot of sellers as well. So
for
hope
sure.
for hopefully the new people getting back in, they do it for the right reasons, and they realize the importance of silver and gold and not having everything in the fiat dollar. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
It's good. It's a good one. I agree. I agree.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Josh, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me once again. We'll have you back on in a couple of weeks, but I do want to say, guys, Josh has his own YouTube channel, and of course, he owns his own coin store, Minot Coin and Bullion in Minot, North Dakota. You should check him out. Throw him some business if you guys haven't done so yet, and we'll see you next time. Josh, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep, anytime.